So greetings and salutations to everybody, especially my Canadian friends. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. I wanted to share in this video with you today my experiences in dealing with Canadians as I worked on the Strip as a timeshare guy for a long time. And I was a timeshare marketer, which means that I would speak to hundreds of people a day. And I have heard some of the most crazy, negative, wild things from Canadians at times. And I'm not hating on Canadians. I'm a Canadian myself by birth, and I moved here in 2004. But I thought it would be funny to share with you some of the stories. Now, some Canadians do not like the United States, and some of them are way up on America. It really just depends. And for the record, I could always tell when someone is Canadian because they have one of three accents. They have either the stereotypical Ontario type of Eastern Canadian accent, which is kind of like how Jordan Peterson talks, you know, or they have the whole Quebecois thing going on, like Celine Dion, the best singer in the world, or they have the whole Newfoundland, super East Coast, you know, how's it going, guys? And I can't understand that, so I would probably not talk to them. But this is not a video to hate on Canadians. This is a video to tell you guys I love you. Cut some slack on the United States. If you're going to come here and spend money here, don't meet a person like me, not know that they are Canadian, because for whatever reason, I've lost a lot of that. Maybe I never had it. I'm not sure. But I've been asked by people in the United States if I'm Jewish, if I'm from New York, Connecticut. Somebody asked me if I'm from New Jersey, just all over the East Coast. So whatever. If you guys like this video, you might want to subscribe to this video. I just thought I would share some thoughts about stuff that happened on the Strip. Check out our channel sponsor on this if you could, Pinay Magazine over on Instagram. Pinay Magazine is a Philippine Pinay Ethereum 2.0 validator. And what they are aiming to do is showcase the global Pinay to the world. And Pinay is a woman of Filipino origin. Their first issue will have Pinays from North America, and their future issues will have Pinays from all over the place. Australia, New Zealand, the EU, the UK, the GCC group of countries. That is places like Dubai, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and of course, they buy the side of Resorts World's billboard 1 week out of every month of the year. So you can check them out when you're here in town if you're here for that week. And that's the third biggest display in the world. So that's their Vegas connection. And we're certainly happy with them. And also TKEX Exchange over on Instagram, the best Ethereum validator program on the planet. If you don't know what any of that is, it's a way to grow Ethereum, which is a crypto, which is going to probably go to $10,000 this year, $15,000. So anyways, check them out over on Instagram. We're so grateful for them. Also, VegasFaceMask.com. No S at the end. If you still need a mask where you live to get around legally, we need them here in Nevada. You might need them on an airplane. You might need them to go to your job. Who knows? My wife makes these. They are like the Louis Vuitton, Prada, Chanel of face masks. And they're all handmade, no outsourcing. We do hotel deliveries and drop-offs. They're 2 for $25 with free shipping. If you're coming into town, we just need a day's notice or whatever, even a few hours notice, but VegasFaceMask.com, no S at the end. So yeah, I was a timeshare marketer. Before you dislike the video, I tried my best, and I held the license, and I was doing my thing for my family. And so I don't make any apologies for that. And maybe that was part of the reason I had a negative experience with some Canadian folks. I don't really know. But I remember one time I was in the Miracle Mile shops, and this guy came up and we started talking. It was just him. So it was really just a talk. We didn't even talk about timeshare stuff. I don't think he knew what I was doing, why I was at that booth. And I remember him, and I used to be, it was not cool to do it. I should have been like, oh man, I'm from Canada. And then we would have had something in common. But instead, sometimes when I was way younger, and we're talking 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I used to just kind of try to start something, you know, got to be starting something like Michael Jackson. So the guy, he's like, oh no, I'm from Canada, right? And I'm like, oh wow, I know all the CFL teams. And he says, oh, really, name them? And I was like, oh, and then I intentionally went and named all of them incorrectly. I said, oh, you know, the BC Stampeders, the Edmonton Lions. I just went down the gamut. This guy got so frustrated, and he went on a big thing about how Canadian football is better, and how they, you know, in Canadian football you have less time for the clock and less downs, and the field's bigger, so you have higher scores and all that. And look, man, I watched Canadian football as a kid. I remember a very juvenile ad campaign the CFL ran, and it said, "All our balls are bigger." Yeah, well, when you're 12 or 13 years old, you know what that means, and you giggle. And it's true. The football in Canadian football is bigger, but there's a lot of Canadians that really like the CFL, and they don't like the NFL. Although they all watch the Super Bowl when it happens to get those sweet, sweet Super Bowl commercials, of which some of them you can't even see in Canada unless you have an American satellite dish, which some Canadians do, by the way. But he was a little bit annoyed. Another conversation I had with somebody. I don't know how it went off the path of what we were talking about, but he started in on how you Americans, you don't know anything about anywhere else. He's like, do you know where Brampton is? And of course I know where Brampton, Ontario is, right? It's like, oh no, I don't know where that is. And and I finally said, after he gave me a big speech on how Americans should know Canadian geography and they really need to teach us in school, I went on I said, well, actually I'm from Canada. I know where Brampton, Ontario is. And I said, let me ask you a question. Do you know where Brainerd is? What state is Brainerd in? Now, for the record, it's in Minnesota. It's in Minnesota, where Jesse the Body Ventura is from. And he said, he thought for a minute. He said, no, I don't know. And I said, right, you don't know because you got a million things going on in your life, and you don't really need to know where Brainerd, Minnesota is. It doesn't make a huge difference in your life. It doesn't help you pay your bills. It doesn't, unless you have a company that you work for them there, I guess you might know. It doesn't help you pay your bills. It doesn't help your kids go through school. It doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. And I said, so if an American doesn't know where Brampton is, it's okay. It's okay. Most Americans know the cities of Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal because those are big population centers. Brampton's like a suburb of Toronto, I think, not too far away. So there's that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, I understand it, when I was a kid, they teach you in Canada about how the Parliament built, the White House was burned down by Canada. It wasn't. It was burned down by the British, but there was the War of 1812 and all that stuff. But so anyways, moving on, I remember one guy when talking about the Golden Knights, and I was wearing a Golden Knights cap. I think I'm wearing a Not Leaving Las Vegas one sent to me by my buddy Eddie in Florida. I was wearing a Golden Knights hat, and this guy was he was so mad, and he was telling me that Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, he rigged the draft lottery. It was the first year. If you don't know the NHL, the Golden Knights were expected to win maybe 15, 20 games, and they went on to appear in the Stanley Cup final. So imagine that, your team is something like, I don't know, trying to think of the team like the Phoenix Coyotes. They've never made the final. A lot of teams have never made the final. You've been watching them for years, or you're a Canadian fan. You're a Montreal Canadiens fan. Your team hasn't been to the NHL final since 1992, I think it is, or something like that. And now here comes this American team out of nothing, and they get so good. But he just went on a conspiracy theory rant about how the draft was rigged. And for the record, the draft wasn't rigged. They called our team the Golden Misfits because we were full of players that nobody wanted. But he was mad about that, which I didn't really fully understand. And then there was the whole Donald Trump thing. Oh my gosh. I met more than one couple from Canada. They were staying at timeshare properties, but they were angry about the election. And they said, we're only here because we have to use our timeshare. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And we're never vacationing in America ever again until Donald Trump's not your president. And I'm thinking, why? Why? I mean, so as soon as he's not the president, you're fine with coming back, but you won't support the country and the people now because you're holding a grudge against one person. So every tourist dollar you could spend in a place like Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, Southern California goes to help regular working folks in America. Don't hold it against a grudge against the whole country because you don't agree with the politics of one person. That's one person. I understand. I'm not going to stay at a Trump property. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that hurts that one person, but hurt an entire city didn't make a lot of sense. But they were still here, which was fun. I have family members that say things like America's full of cowboys and they just want to take over the world. And then I have family members that say America's great because of all these different reasons. I have people who tell me that it's a great place and people who tell me it's a bad place. It's not reflective of anything of Canadians in general at all, period. As a matter of fact, there's American exceptionalism and then there's Canadian exceptionalism. And I'll link in the description of this video to a video by J.J. McCullough. and he actually talks about how Canadian exceptionalism was formed out of the left-leaning political parts of Canada, whereas American exceptionalism here is the right-leaning, and that's what's very interesting about the two nations. But we are two nations. We do have a great history together. We do share much of the same culture, and I just think it's crazy when I meet people that just dismiss it hands out as Americans are ignorant and rude and don't care about the world, because in my experience, both Canadians and Americans are genuine, generous, loving, caring, want to help the world become a better place and care for their fellow people a great deal. But anyways, that's my video today. How do you like the new setup? This is being recorded with a Logitech webcam and this Yeti mic with a bunch of tweaks on the audio. Interested to know what you think. Check out our Patreon if you guys want personal videos where we talk about stuff that I cannot and will not talk on YouTube about. You can find the link in the description. If you're on the channel memberships, that's cool too. But YouTube makes it very, very hard to pump out premium content. Patreon makes it very, very easy to do that. So I hope to see you over there. Check out our sponsors, Pinay Magazine and VegasFaceMask.com. No S at the end. Now it's time of the video where I say 3, 2, 1, click. Thanks for watching. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and click. So by the way, if you watched all through the 3, 2, 1, click, just know I'm looking out for you and I love you. I'm going to put another video right by my head, and you can check that video. You might like the channel and click subscribe. It's also on the screen, and we'll see you in another video very soon. We do them pretty much daily here on the channel. 3, 2, 1 again, and click.